think so, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. On this snowy December meeting, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Wonderful. Good. Well, I'll now call this special meeting of the University Senate. I can get the video to be different. Let's see. Maybe I'll come back. There we go. Thank you. I now call this special meeting of the University Senate to order. The only topic on the agenda is a resolution on the medical school negotiations. And before I invite our first speaker, I want to update this group that on Friday afternoon at 5:30, all three parties came to an agreement on the choice of a mediator with the Attorney General's office. And I and the university look forward to beginning negotiations, hopefully any day now. And I am committed to a three-party solution that is good for all three parties and good for the state of Minnesota. Pleased at this latest development. I want to remind people that as a public university, our public board of regents does not have the ability to discuss topics at all in private. And so any conversation about our contracts, any reaction to agreements brought to us by any of the parties have to be done in public by state mandated legislator. It's the way our policies and practice happen here. So I want people to understand that when that happens and when things are brought in front of our board, as must be done to discuss them, the public, including the press, is welcome to be there, and all debate and discussion happens in public. And this is the way the state of Minnesota policies are. Well, we appreciate the need for a good debate across all topics. It is the only time the Board of Regents can actually discuss things, and when they do discuss things, those things do wind up in a public forum, which again is the way the University of Minnesota and the state of Minnesota works. So with that, I now invite, and I want to thank everyone for the robust information that was shared last week by the faculty senators and by many of the University Senate, and good discussion and dialogue. And I thank them for that. I now invite Professor Sasha Zagloff, Chair of the Medical School Faculty Advisory Committee, to introduce this item.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, President Cunningham, and thank you to the many senators who are here this morning and the many guests that we have online as well. Before we share the slides, I just wanted to make note that with permission from Professors Montes and Professor Ganeshananthan, both from the College of Liberal Arts, the FAC wants to remind folks of the comments at Thursday's Senate regarding the fear that exists among members in our community. And the FAC stands with our Somali and Latino and immigrant and other marginalized groups. And particularly given the weight of the moment, the FAC expresses deep gratitude for you all being here this morning, and particularly the importance of shared governance given the weight of the moment that we're in. And with that, I will ask Julie to share our slides, please. Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair, for the positive update regarding the mediator. That is fantastic news for everybody. Next slide. So that's me. Many of you got to hear from me already last Thursday, but for those I haven't had the chance to meet, Sasha Zagloff, I'm a licensed child psychologist by training background with my primary appointment in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences in the medical school. Next slide, Julie. Thank you. So this morning, really quickly, I'm going to try to cover for you all the timeline of events leading us to call for this special session, make the case for why this is relevant for the entire University Senate, and then have you understand where we hope to go from here. On Thursday, Dean Tolar covered some of this, but just to provide the faculty perspective, approximately a year ago, this new role of the Executive Vice President excuse me, for Health Affairs was announced. And in January, we had this bold idea with the excitement around the proposal for the U partnering with Essentia. However, in May, there was then this announcement of the formal process from the AG's office, including the University, Fairview, and Essentia. And those of us in the medical school received an email from our dean that stated, "Let me be crystal clear, the academic mission of the medical school is at stake." And we started getting emails about proposed governance changes for our faculty practice plan. In April, the AG's office announced the strategic facilitator. And then in May, our CEO of Physicians at the time, Bevan Yu, announced that he was leaving, and he then did leave in July. And then in September, there was the press announcement that Essentia had pulled out of the deal between itself with the university and Fairview. Next slide, Julie. So all of that was happening across this calendar year, increasing the distress and uncertainty for the medical school. And so then to go through what happened at the level of the Senate on the 19th, the agenda got sent out for our September 25th Senate. And there was a specific invitation to send questions and to queue for questions. We had that September 25th Senate. We had the fantastic presentation with the vision of the strategy moving forward for the whole university. Unfortunately, we didn't have very much time, though, for questions and answers. And so by the end of the Senate meeting in September, several med school faculty had questions that did not get addressed. On October 9th, then, we all got an email saying that the October Senate would be canceled because, quote, "There is no pressing business ready for presentation to or discussion by the Senate at this time." However, that cancellation was rescinded. And then on October 14th, we were told that the Senate meeting would proceed. And there was a specific request again for agenda items, at which time multiple med school senators did submit questions. And we were told that the Senate office had a running list of topics for the Senate Consultative Committee to consider for the October Senate. And so then on October 23rd, we had our Senate meeting, at which time we had a significant discussion dedicated to how do we rebuild trust in the Senate and its processes. I had made a very quick comment there about the hope to be able to discuss the medical school in this context, and Chair Leo invited a med school agenda item moving forward. Next slide, Julie. By October 31st, I was fortunate, and the FAC leadership team was fortunate to receive an invitation to meet with the Senate Consultative Committee. And then on November 10th, when we actually did present to the SCC, we were told the December agenda was full, but that the FAC could start planning for a presentation in February. I want to make note that as of November 10th, when we were told to present in February, your med school faculty accepted that suggestion. However, then on November 12th, many emails went out regarding the agreement that had been reached between Physicians and Fairview. And we received an email that perhaps maybe we would be able to speak in December after all. November 13th, there was an incredibly important Board of Regents meeting where a resolution was approved specifically pertaining to Physicians and its actions. And people can go and read that resolution. Many faculty from the medical school experienced that resolution and its passing as jeopardizing and threatening the future of Physicians to continue to be the faculty practice of our med school. As of November 14th, it was unclear what was going to be on the December agenda, and it was our understanding that the SCC was still considering having us. But
Can we get the slides back up? Thanks.
Thank you, Julie. I sort of know them by heart, but all right. So yeah, so as of November 14th, it was unclear if we would be on the December agenda. Next slide. So then it's Monday morning, November 17th. and the agenda is still not final. Do understand that it didn't get finalized over the weekend. However, that Monday morning, we received word that Dr. Beelman had been relieved of his duties as the Vice President for Clinical Operations, effective immediately. That Wednesday, a special meeting of the regions was announced. And so that evening, the FAC had an urgent meeting to discuss the possibility of calling for a special session because it was our understanding that the agenda for the December Senate was technically supposed to be due the next day. We still didn't know if we were on it. And there was significant concern about this regions meeting. On the 20th, the FAC, through me, did receive a letter that was signed by the department heads of the med school, which included the statement, Fairview cannot be forced to participate in the practical alternative. The presented alternative is not viable. And so very quickly, by the 21st, we got in the paperwork calling for this special session, including the resolution that many of you have seen. And so thank you to the many of you who endorsed our request for the special session. And you all would have received an email that the U was re-engaging in the negotiations, and the Regents meeting for that day was canceled. Next slide, please. Okay, so those are the events leading up to us calling for the special session. Why do we believe that this is a matter for the entire university for shared governance? There are just two examples here of many ways in which the medical school is not only integrated with the health sciences, which was the focus this past Thursday, but far beyond the health sciences. And so the CTSI, I've got that quote there just in terms of their breadth and connection. And we do have a handout that speaks to the numerous colleges and campuses that the CTSI is engaged with. And similarly, as you see there, the Masonic Cancer Center has partnerships and grants with 11 different schools. Next slide. And so what are your med school faculty asking for? Exactly what we're doing here. It's incredibly exciting to see 255 people this morning because governance matters, and we want to make sure that our faculty voice continues to be heard and a shared future. So as we spoke to last Thursday, really feeling that it's critical that the med school is here and is engaged in creating this future, and that the rest of you beyond the medical school see the ways in which we're integrated across the many schools and campuses. Next slide, Julie. So what does the resolution, go back one. Thank you. So what are we asking for with the resolution? Engagement. I would refer back last Thursday. One of our senator colleagues specifically asked how folks had experienced Dr. Beelman being relieved of his duties. I want to just point out two quotes. The top is from a letter that was initiated by a physician in the Department of Medicine. It has now been signed by 250 faculty from the med school, voicing support for the agreement and our desire to move forward. And at the same time, there was a story recently from NPR that noted that Fairview CEO James Hereford had made note that close to 200 physicians and employees of Physicians have left, which is an incredibly rapid pace and has significant impacts across our services. Next slide. The other piece of the resolution is about rhetoric. Again, last Thursday, a senator asked a question about some of the vocabulary that has been in the press, particularly that quote about hostile takeover. Here, I submit a quote from that letter written by our department heads that notes how the tone and the content has been destabilizing, impacting everything from morale and recruitment and retention. And then again, there was the story from NPR noting that the Masonic Charities is really paying attention to how things are going here, which has enormous impacts when we think about the Children's Hospital, the Masonic Cancer Center, and the Masonic Institute for the Developing Brain. Next slide, Julie. And lastly, stability. Again, another senator last week asked about the AG's office and the instruction for physicians to continue its negotiations with Fairview. And here I pulled quotes from both letters received from the CTSI leadership as well as the Masonic Cancer Center, really speaking to the magnitude of the research that is happening and the interdependence of it with Fairview Health Services. Next slide, Julie. All right, and so what did our motion call for? Number one, we are really grateful for the change in language and the positive update that you've provided, Madam Chair. And the resolution nonetheless does hope that the Board of Regents and the administration can minimize the public rhetoric and the vocabulary. And then we also specifically asked for increased involvement of your med school faculty advisory council and senators. And included there are just some examples of ways in which your med school senators could be involved, either through collaborations with the health sciences or outside of the health sciences. Moving forward, we think that there's tremendous opportunity for the Faculty Senate to increase its involvement with our civil service, P&A, and student senators. And then finally, coming out of all of this discussion, there's this idea of one identity, yet two legal entities. This received quite a bit of attention at Thursday's meeting, that your med school faculty who also do have an appointment with UMP, we think of ourselves as one. The two cannot be distinguished. And yet at the same time, these are two different legal bodies, and that has important implications. And there could be greater education about this, both within the med school and outside. Last slide, Julie. And so that is your faculty council. And sorry, there was one additional slide. And with that, I conclude our prepared remarks, and thank you for your time and attention. We ask for your endorsement, and then I hope you have a good end to the semester and the end of 2025. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Zyla, for that presentation, and really for you bringing this, you and your colleagues bringing this to the Faculty Senate. You may recall my remarks at the board meeting, the Board of Regents meeting. One of the things that I found distressing in the way that this agreement had come to light was that it had no discussion at all by shared governance. And that's not the way we do things here. And I want senators to know here that that was, out of the administration control, because the agreement was not provided to us, and the agreement has still not been provided to us. And so therefore, we couldn't engage faculty senators the way we believe we must engage faculty senators. I am committed to having faculty senate and faculty engagement going forward. In order to do that, the university has to be at the table. And with that, I am pleased that we will now have three-party negotiations. And before any deal is final, it will have to go in front of the Board of Regents for a public conversation. And to the extent that we are allowed legally and by mediation, I would very much have been advocating to make sure that we have a conversation with faculty about it along the way. In addition, this group should be updated to know that I put together an advisory committee that does indeed include faculty senators that began meeting last week. To begin to get input is how we move along, and I can't agree more with the sentiment here that needs to be done. We were somewhat hamstrung over the past months by confidentiality, but we simply can no longer go on this way, and I think you're bringing this to the attention of the group is really important. A few other points before I open it up discussion that I think are just good common knowledge for this group to understand. I appreciate you bringing the timeline forward of the Senate and Senate deliberations on this matter. Not everyone understands that the SCC and the Senate and faculty set the agenda for these meetings. I, as chair, do not set the agenda and do not decide what is or is not on the agenda. That is done by the faculty as our shared governance bylaws dictate. And so when things got moved on or off, removed, those were decisions by faculty and by your faculty governance. And I want people to understand that. Two other things I think are important before I open this up for discussion. You mentioned some distress around the Board of Regents meeting in terms of what that meant for UMP. And I want to be clear for folks that the UMP contract that was discussed there is a 30-year contract that, regardless of any of these pieces, is up at the end of 2026. So while I understand people interpret that as a threat, it's not a threat, it's simply a fact. The group started with the contract 30 years ago, and that contract simply, like our contract with Fairview, is up at the end of 2026. So I want people to be really clear that is not a threatening stance. It's simply a contractual fact. And it should be interpreted in that manner. And finally, the last point before we open it up for discussions, I think it's really important for people to know that we absolutely will have a clinical contract with Fairview, and we will come out of negotiations here with a place for our faculty to work and to work with Fairview. There is no chance that we will not come out of here with a clinical contract. It's simply a matter of what that contract is, and that's what we're now in three-party mediation to look for. So I know there's been great fear and distress across faculty, and I just can't emphasize enough that we are going to have a clinical contract with faculty, and faculty will indeed have a place to work in the Fairview system as we move forward. The rest of these details are what needs to be worked out in mediation. And with that, I will now proceed to a pro-con discussion using the same queuing system that we've been using for hybrid meetings. The link is in the agenda. We will utilize pro-con debate and also rotate through constituencies as much as possible to try to hear as many different voices as possible. The University Senate obviously is not just faculty, is staff and also students, and we want to make sure that all of our constituencies are heard here in a clear format. At the end of the discussion, a vote will take place through the Zoom poll. So Amber, if you can please call on the first speaker, and I'll remind speakers that they're asking questions, and then I can direct those questions as chair to the appropriate person. So thank you so much, Amber.
Yep. Before we get started, Senator Edgell has a point of order, and then I believe so does Senator Ganeshanathan.
Thank you, Amber. And this, I'm not actually sure who this question is for, but I guess I'll address it to Madam President. So I understand that we use a pro-con debate format. My question is that mandated by Senate rules? If it is, maybe that can't be changed, but it would be nice if there were some option to check. I'm trying to make up my mind, right? So I'm not actually committed at this point to a position, and that's why I wanted to ask some questions and I'm in the queue, but my question is basically more about clarification and getting some of the information I need to decide how I'm going to vote. So I just had to pick one, and I just wanted to point out that I don't know if this is mandated or not, but if it isn't, or if there's any way to give a third option that's still within the Senate rules for questions that are more informational, that would be super helpful. Thank you.
Not mandated, it's a preferred practice.
I can answer that. It is mandated by the Senate rules that we have pro-con debate. In the past, I have had a neutral or question option, but too many people were using neutral and then saying either pro or con points. So I eliminated it. So people will just have to choose, and it'll be fine.
Can I just say that I think that kind of decision maybe ought to be run past the senators, because I feel like this is our body, and if we want a certain kind of discussion, that would be appropriate to have input on that, and maybe we could have some other, not today, this is a short meeting, some other time where we have a discussion about that. More generally, I mean, I think if people are acting in good faith, it's fine to have a discussion option. I think if they're not, it's fine to cut them off. But I would prefer to have a kind of something that's truer to the kind of information we're actually trying to get. And I would also prefer a format where we're actually encouraged to make good decisions, which often involves getting more information before we speak. Thank you.
So Amber,
it's pro and con, alternation of pro and con, but
so it's written into the bylaws apparently, but I fully encourage that, that shared governance is where the bylaws come from. And if that's something senators would like to see changed, then I encourage you to go through your processes to do that. I believe currently it's written, and I do agree with you that the opportunity for an unknown or I'm learning question is perfectly reasonable. So, we can take that up at a later date, and I see your point. Thank you so much for it.
Sure.
Is there another point of order?
Good morning. It was similar to Penny's question. I remember that there had been neutral queues in the past, and then when I went to get in the queue, there isn't one there, and so I didn't know where to go. So I was going to ask about that. Now I'm not in either queue because I didn't know. So I would just echo Penny's question and concerns and desire for input in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for both of those. And the parliamentarian here agrees that it is in bylaws, but again, I see all of your points and encourage the Senate office and the SCC to take that up. With that, Amber, is there a first question in the queue?
Yes, the first person in the queue is Aaron Corfield, who's faculty and pro.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time today. I've talked to many medical school faculty that are relieved that a deal has been reached. However, there is still significant work to be done on department levels. Orthopedics is one. Fairview has signed a clinical deal with Summit Orthopedics, and the orthopedic faculty of the university will not be at community practice sites starting in January of 2027. These are sites outside of the clinics and surgery center on Fulton Street. This impacts 40 faculty, 20 FTE, who after that date will lose a significant portion of their practice space with no viable alternative. I support this resolution because the Department of Orthopedics and others need to have their voices heard by this administration in dedicated department-specific forums to bring their concerns directly to the president. Many of my friends in orthopedics are rightly nervous about job stability and feel as though the administration has not engaged enough in direct faculty discussions outside of Senate meetings or other governance bodies that they don't even know about. Orthopedics engaged with the administration in a joint meeting with other departments, which made it too difficult to talk about their specific significant concerns. As I said on Thursday, most of us consider ourselves university doctors. However, many of us still feel like our concerns are not being adequately addressed to provide needed job security past January 2027. Some have told me they are concerned that they will have to work for Fairview or Summit to stay in a clinic location that is closer to their home and lose their faculty appointment at the university. Issues like this are devastating to faculty morale and retention. This resolution is the needed step to ensure faculty have direct communication with university leadership and a place at the table. Even if nothing can be changed for orthopedics by renewed university participation in negotiations, faculty deserve a more direct line of communication to voice concerns to the administration. And I support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. I'll just say, we can't agree with you more. I went to every single department for small department meetings. Some of those did get combined for practical reasons, but each of those was less than 80 or 100 people. And I think we did, I don't know, Jamie, 10 meetings in the medical school in the past 2 months, because I can't agree with you more. We need to be having direct conversation. In addition to that, I've held open forums every other month that are open for all faculty to attend, where I can hear directly from faculty. Finally, I've developed a direct meeting with your chairs, and your particular chair is represented at that and is speaking with me almost weekly now. So I can't agree more. We need to have a lot of open dialogue and debate. And then with that, the university also, as we now will be at the table for the negotiations, because it is pointless for you to be giving information to the administration if the university is actually locked out of being at the table where the negotiation is at. But thank you so much, Aaron. I actually completely concur. I appreciate those points and look for the stability for you and your faculty moving forward.
All right. The next person in the queue is Penny Edgell, who is con or neutral. We don't know.
I have a point of order. Just a second. There's a point of order on the floor. Can I be recognized?
Are you asking for a point of order, Chase?
Yes, I have a point of order, the little check mark. I don't know, that's a new thing, but
okay. Yes, you can be recognized for your point of order.
Thank you. My point is that according to the Roberts rules, the chair should refrain from speaking. We're now in debate. So when at this point, if you would like to talk in comments, I would request that you relinquish the chair to do that. That's 431 of Roberts rules. But
So you can say, okay, point 12.
Yeah, so your point is well taken. So I'm listening to comments and we'll continue.
Okay, I'm going to begin. So my question is actually for President Cunningham, which is, would you be concerned at all that passing this resolution in any way weakens your position in negotiations as they are coming up? And also, do you feel that passing this resolution will actually change anything about how you're planning to conduct yourself as a negotiator as is. And the reason I ask that is I am very concerned about the way that this played out with the university having been just shut out from the contract negotiations. I thought that was outrageous. And it was a precedent that I don't believe that we as a community, as a university, can afford to allow to stand. I feel like it's incredibly important that we've gone into mediation, that the university's being fully included. I think it's incredibly important that your position as president, as a negotiator for the university, is as strong as possible in those negotiations, given the history. So if you have any concerns about the passing of this resolution, if you feel like it undermines your position entering those negotiations, I would like to hear about it, because that's one of my concerns about this proposal. Also, I would like to hear about it if you think that the passing of this proposal will actually change anything about how you're planning to conduct yourself as is, because it's very clear that you've already been consultative. You have stated that you plan to be consultative. So I really want to know what difference passing this resolution might make from your perspective. I feel like we've heard, and it was great to hear from the medical school faculty, but I would like to hear from you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. I think, I mean, first of all, resolutions are a way that the faculty senate body and the Senate altogether, the university Senate, excuse me, staff and students can speak. And so, you know, I'm always open to how that voice goes forth and is all, and as is all of my team. So I do believe deeply in shared governance. You know, I think many of the points that are in this resolution are indeed things that we are already doing and been long committed to. I understand the University Senate wants to reiterate some of those, and you know, I think that that's your prerogative to do so. You know, we are entering into mediation. We will certainly be looking at what the non-binding proposed agreement was between UNP and Fairview. And we'll learn from that, and then we'd be looking to move ahead, so in a productive way as fast as possible. So it's hard for me to say how exactly this will change. I do hear folks on the rhetoric component. Also just noting that if the university isn't at the table and then we're given an agreement that we have to discuss publicly, the Board of Regents will discuss it publicly, and they do have opinions about it, and those opinions, and as is this meeting, are usually attended by the press. But I want, you know, I and the Board of Regents all have the faculty and the across the university in mind, and we want what's best, and we want a clinical agreement as well as an agreement that will support the medical school going forward. So I think the voice of the faculty is always important, and how you choose to move ahead with this is, I think, you know, is the prerogative of this body. I don't really think it's my duty to weigh in on a vote for that. But we do hear this, and these are things we're mostly already doing and are committed to doing. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you.
Next in the queue, we have Chase Krug, a student who is pro.
There's also a point of order on the table.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Terry?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a point of order or a point of information, but we're in a debate format. I think everybody's limited to 2 minutes, right?
I believe that's true. I think there's a timer.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's time's on for everybody.
Thank you. Was there a next question, Amber?
Yep, Chase Krug.
During the last question, Dr. Beelman is in the audience, so I'll yield him my time if he would like to discuss anything.
I'm not seeing Dr. Beelman come to
Okay.
the screen.
Then I will
No,
continue.
Jason's
Dr.
there.
Beelman is here.
Oh, he is. Okay, good.
I was waiting to be recognized by President
you.
Cunningham.
Dr. Beelman?
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to be present. I am a 30-year faculty at the University of Minnesota, and have been proud to be both faculty member and a physician here for that period of time. In my role as the interim CEO of our practice plan serving the medical school. I am happy to have worked with the president and her leadership, the Attorney General, and our Fairview colleagues to talk about the relationship of our organizations moving forward. I am excited that we are at the point of having a clinical agreement for the next decade with our Fairview colleagues who provide more than or related to more than 50% of the budget of the medical school, and look forward, as the president mentioned, to having more fruitful discussions over the next several weeks with all three parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bielman. And we share that important focus on how we get this resolved as quickly as possible. Thank you. Amber, next question.
Next in the queue is Ron Krebs, Faculty and Con.
Sorry about that. As a member of the university community, I have deep appreciation of the value that the Academic Health Center brings to our entire university community. And I share with colleagues in the medical school the urgency of an agreement being reached between Fairview UMP and the university. But I feel compelled to oppose this resolution in part, right? I support the part that involves greater engagement with the Medical School Faculty Advisory Council. But, and in part, I think here echoing the thrust of Penny Edgell's intervention, I cannot support the resolution in its current form because of the clause calling on the Board of Regents and University Administration to tone down its rhetoric. I have no idea, and I think probably none of us have any idea, if the rhetoric coming out of the Board of Regents and the University Administration was tactically the right call. Who knows? Maybe the rhetoric that the resolution calls divisive is what brought the three parties back to the table here. But the bigger issue is that the University Senate, I think, cannot micromanage negotiations and negotiation strategy. Consider that this emergency meeting called before the announcement of the reopening of negotiations is in certain respects responding to a situation that has already passed, that is already out of date. This body cannot and should not seek to micromanage negotiations or undercut university leadership's tactics during such sensitive negotiations and mediation. We as a collective body do not know the personalities involved. We do not fully comprehend the dynamics of the negotiations to date. We as a collective body are incredibly poorly positioned to intervene in rapidly changing negotiations. We as a collective body can and should ask hard questions of the administration. We can and should demand engagement. We can and should hold them accountable. But we cannot micromanage the administration's negotiations. Let them do their job. If that clause were to be cut, I would be very happy to support the resolution in its resolution, but in its current form, I'm afraid that I cannot.
You could ask him if he would like to make an amendment to strike that clause.
Ron, would you like to make, am I hearing that you would like to make an amendment?
I guess I would ask, would it be appropriate, therefore, I would ask the parliamentarian, I could make an amendment, or I would rather ask Dr. Zagaloff, and who sponsored the resolution, about whether she would be open to such a change in the resolution.
That's in order.
That's in order. Dr. Zagaloff?
Thank you, Professor Krebs, for your comment. I would remind the group that in addition to our letter, the department heads of the medical school similarly sent a letter addressing their concerns around the tone. And so while I understand your concerns about this body trying to regulate or perhaps overstep its bounds, I cannot accept that as a friendly amendment because the tone has been deeply unsettling to many in the med school. But I appreciate your comments and have made note for the future. Thank you.
He could still propose it, and if it's seconded.
Ron, so you got the opinion of Dr. Zagaloff, so the parliamentarian indicates that you could still propose an amendment, and if you had a second, then that would move towards a vote to amend it, is the proper procedure.
I would not offer such an amendment at this time. I certainly do not want to suggest, I do not think we as a Senate, I think we should vote up or down on this particular resolution as it is that the medical school faculty has put it forward. I would not wish to offer an amendment at this time.
Thank you for your comments. Next question.
Next up is Barb Diker, who is a P&A member and pro.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senators. I'm speaking on behalf of P&A. Many of the department administrators in the medical school, if not all, are P&A staff. And we are responsible for implementing any kind of contract that comes about. And I think this resolution is important because engagement by the Senate, including P&A staff members, is really important in order to make this administratable. There's lots of nuances in the current agreement that requires a significant amount of university staff time to implement, and an agreement that does not involve the university is detrimental to our ability to implement it successfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Next question.
Next is Christopher Phelan, faculty and con.
So I guess my main question, let me make sure my main question is, what exactly is this body's role in all of this, other than approving a resolution or not? Because if it really is that there's no statutory authority for this body to have anything to do with this, then I would respectfully say that 2 hours of PowerPoints is probably not a good use of the people in this virtual room's time. So I guess the question is there any statutory role for this body other than expressing a collective opinion or not?
I will maybe take a top line answer there in a general way, which is the University Senate is a consultative body that is involved in shared governance and providing input and guidance to the university. It's beyond the scope of this discussion, but there are segments of our university work, for example, curriculum, that are approved by the Senate, and then there are other parts for which this body is consultative, and the administration, pays attention certainly to the input and guidance. If you're asking if the body is binding in terms of how next negotiations or things move forward in a resolution, it's consultative. There's not a binding oversight, and if that's incorrect, somebody please correct me. Jennifer, Amber says that's correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Zeigel. Oh, well, I don't know if you're next, Amber.
Can I not answer the question, Amber? Or no?
Well, I can point you to answer the question. So I'm sorry, Dr. Zeigel, I don't know where you went on my screen, but would you like to respond?
Sure. I think the only thing I would add to that, Professor Phelan, is the FAC brought this forward because we haven't had a voice. And so I would ask all those present what your pathway forward would be if your group didn't feel that you had a voice. So perhaps this isn't the statutory authority, but what other mechanism do we have to bring forward concerns?
And this is a body that brings forth many concerns. And I'd have this same body consider there are 3 parties in this negotiation. And how the body provides input also to the other, to UMP, right? So next question.
Next in the queue is Shanna Waters, faculty and pro.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for all of the comments and concerns that we're bringing forward. I am very much pro in this. One of the things that I have a question about is so the Attorney General has already said that it's legal for UMP and Fairview to negotiate without the University of Minnesota. And one of my concerns is if there was a disconnect between the Ellison's office and the University of Minnesota, President Cunningham, at what point who do we believe? Ellison is telling us that the University of Minnesota stepped away from the negotiations, and then with the rhetoric and then the response of we didn't step away, and then the Attorney General Ellison brought UMP and Fairview together. I am really confused as to how this occurred, because I really see it honestly as a lack of leadership at this point from the administration, because you can't say we didn't do this when we have our Attorney General saying it had happened. And the reason why I'm so strongly pro for this is because we may not be able to force you to listen, but at least we can make our voices known. And I ask you to respond to what did happen. Thank you.
So I'll provide a comment, and then I might bring Jennifer Losey on screen as well. Shauna, I can't speak to the Attorney General. I can only speak to the university and to the university's actions. The university at no point walked away from the table. The university repeatedly asked to be part once we understood that negotiations were happening that were directed by the Attorney General with UMP and with Fairview separately. We asked in writing, we asked in person. We were not allowed to come to the table with those two groups. I understand there's a difference of people saying different things. I can only speak to my version of reality and to the university. And I want you to be assured the university leadership would never walk away from the negotiating table. And the university did not walk away from the negotiating table at any point. And I don't know, Jennifer Losey, I'll ask her, I think, to respond because she has that timeline and has been a part of our council for that. Are you on screen somewhere?
I am. There's a point of order that came up.
I just want to make sure that the president is now yielding part of her 2 minutes to the OGC. So it should be a total of 2 minutes, I believe.
Thank you for that point of order, Terry. Jennifer, can you comment at all on the timeline? And Jennifer Losey is part of our general counsel team. And can you speak to whether or not the university ever left negotiations and what our timeline was there?
I can. I was part of the team that was negotiating in August and September. And I can confirm President Cunningham's resuscitation that the university did not walk away. And really, when we talk about where the divisions are, the current agreement with Fairview has a lot of components, and they also have an agreement between UMP and Fairview as well related to clinical matters. But what we are also concerned about are those matters that impact the rest of the university as well. And so when we talk about the authorities of the various parties, we have been very stalwart that the university speaks to the academic matters of research, education, and clinical care. These are our tripartite mission, and our M physicians are a critical part of that. So we need to be at the table to adequately represent the university throughout the university. We heard a lot last week about the widespread impact that the university has. So
thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll finish the few seconds of the conversation there. The university, including the Board of Regents, also repeatedly asked UMP and the UMP board and UMP leadership to be included as they were having negotiations. Thank you.
Next is Hope Nixon, who is a student and who is con.
Apologies, but I do not have anything to say at this moment, but thank you for acknowledging it.
Oh, sorry. Then we have Julie Olson, faculty con.
Hi, I'm sorry. I had to use Cliff Steer's login because I'm ex officio and I did not get the link up, so I apologize. So I'm Julie Olson. Cliff Steer and I are co-chairs of the Faculty Advisory Committee for the Health Sciences, the FOX Committee. We are the Senate committee, and we are made up of faculty members from across the health science schools. We do have a stronger representation from within the medical school. And I just want to let you know that we have been consulted several times on this. President Cunningham and Dean Tolar attended our meetings and have discussed this with us. And we've also had individual meetings with Provost Ritter on this topic very regularly. So they are consulting us frequently outside of our regular meetings as well. Cliff and I have met with them. And in addition, we also met with Greg Beelman and Provost Ritter the day before the agreement came out. So we have been consulted. So we are the advisory committee for the health sciences that represents the Senate. And so I just want to let everybody know that we have been part of it and that the administration has been consulting with us. And I urge senators to reach out to us as a committee if there was something that concerns that you have. We do want to hear them because, like I said, they do consult with us on a regular basis. And sometimes that's outside, especially with this, everything that's been happening recently, it is sometimes outside of our regular meetings. And so Cliff and I have been trying to talk to everybody. Cliff has been going to several of the department meetings in the medical school, trying to get a sense of the faculty so that we can bring that back to Provost Ritter and President Cunningham. So, and in addition to that, like I said, President Cunningham has set up another group of medical school faculty as consulting with her on this, on the upcoming negotiations as well.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining that advisory committee. And we appreciate that your time has been consultative to date. We, of course, were unable to share with you the details of what this agreement meant because we don't yet have the terms of the actual agreement, which prohibited us from consulting with what it would exactly mean, but we're doing our best with that. There was another hand up somewhere.
I removed it. There's a lot of people in line. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Amber, next.
Next we have Cal Mergendahl, who's a student in pro, and I will just note we've got 5 minutes left in the meeting, so we'll need to vote.
We'll need to vote also, right? So.
Right. Thanks, Amber. Thank you, President Cunningham. I'll try and be quick. I just want to touch a few points that I think have been kind of brought up and respond to some of the opposition that we've seen. First to Professor Krebs' point. I think regarding rhetoric, out from the outside looking in, those of us, students, we didn't really knew a little bit about what was going on, and then all of a sudden we see the university coming out of nowhere to say a whole bunch of things in a fairly aggressive way, and then finding out that maybe all of those things are disputed by some of the other negotiating partners. And I think, again, from my personal perspective and from the perspective of those that I talked to about this, the university has lost a lot of face in coming out swinging as hard as it did. And I do think that that is a problem for us, and that is a problem for us in negotiations as well. I also was entertained somewhat by the assertion that the university never walks away from the negotiating table. I think those of us who have kept up with the Teamsters situation during the strike a few months ago and in the graduate labor union as well might dispute that assertion to some extent. And finally, I think I'd like to ask Dr. Beelman if he's willing to answer and yield the rest of the time to him. How has your, dismissal from your role, other dismissals, and the general rhetoric around this, how would you characterize this in kind of response to what we've been hearing from the president, from leadership in every other sense?
Questions come to the chair to be handed out, and so Amber has some notes here as well. And I didn't see what that note was that went up, Amber.
Oh, just
I
reminding
want
people
to
on this
clarify
side.
my comment. I said the university did not walk away from this negotiating table. Thank you. Amber, what was your comment? I couldn't see it.
Just reminding people that when we get to the vote, only senators and designated alternates can do so.
I see. Dr. Bielman, in the few seconds that are left for this question, would you like to answer?
Yes, we continued to discuss with Fairview based on instructions we received from Attorney General Ellison, and I quote, "I'm instructing Fairview and the University of Minnesota physicians to meet to discuss ways they can protect the continuity and stability of the integrated academic and community health systems for the sake of our patients and physicians." Thank you. Thanks for the chance to comment.
Thank you. So with that, I think we probably need to move to vote. We have 3 minutes left here. Yeah.
Great.
So with that, let's see, Amber, I will now proceed to vote. Voting only members of the University Senate or alternates attending in place of a senator should vote. Amber, please initiate.
All right, I am launching now, and I will, while people are getting a chance to vote, I will also note that I will verify the vote afterwards to make sure that we don't have a whole bunch of people who weren't supposed to vote doing so. Not that I expect that, but sometimes people do it by accident. I will give 10 more seconds to vote. And last call. With 22 ayes and 44 nays, that motion carries.
Well, with that, I want to thank everyone so much. Faculty Senate and University Senate is the place to have debate and discourse and dialogue. And I appreciate the robust conversation, and I want to thank the senators of Dr. Zogloff and your group for bringing matters that are important to you to the consultative body of the university. So thank you so much. And with that, I do believe we call this concludes our meeting. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you.